The aim of the project is to fill out these stories that we have. We have these wonderful, compelling stories, but they're only snippets. And so this is what the database will hopefully show. We can fill in these gaps that we have.
At 4:30 p.m, one of my men reported that near a tree on the left of our trench he had struck water. Welcome news, as we had been very short. On investigation, I found a stone-constructed well some 5 yards in front of our trench. No wonder the Turks were sniping at the tree in hope of catching the men drawing water. We tunnelled underneath, and after drawing some 15 feet, we struck the wall of the well, and a portion of this we removed. We enjoyed the sweetest drink.
The stories that came out of these letters, the diaries, the photographs, the postcards, there's ephemera such as Christmas cards, there's songbooks, there's menus, and it was very personal as well, reading some of these tragic stories.
This is, so far, our only death, and I think the record a very good one. Our grief is sometimes at the root, selfish in the passionate sorrow over the loss of a dear companion, friend or relative, because such a deep and pure pleasure has been suddenly plucked out of our life. There come cases where he who remains suffers more than he who goes.
Victor Steele works in the Fisher Library as a librarian, and he writes a number of letters to Legay Brereton, who's the librarian here. For me, the best line is when he says to Legay Brereton, and I'm so sorry to hear that there's still a backlog in the cataloguing. So he's just trying to, be nice and chatty, put a bit of normalcy to what he's actually experiencing here on the front. On another letter, he mentions that he hasn't seen Storkey for a while. Percy Valentine Storkey also works at the Fisher Library as an admin assistant, and he's also studying law at the same time. And he wins the Victoria Cross for actions in France in April 1918, and there's only over 60 Victoria Cross winners, and he is one of them.
They fired at us, occasionally direct. All the time, bullets meant for the troops some 100 yards in front were whizzing over and between us. No one was hit until 2:45 a.m, when Private Penn, a fine young Englishman and one of my best men, was shot in the head. Poor chap was dead when I reached him. Little incidents like this call forth the wish that those responsible for this awful cataclysm will receive their just deserts when they are brought to their knees.
Women have different roles from what we would normally expect. We have masseuses, or what we would now know as physiotherapists. We have women ambulance drivers, and we have the nurses as well.
Dear Professor Walsh, this letter has been in my mind for a long time. The crowded hour leaves little time to write them. I've been here for about 4 months. We left London on February 9th, and I brought some small laboratory equipment with me. Typhus was raging when we came out, and I was speedily at work here. This is a fever hospital that has been adapted from a Serbian hospital, incredibly filthy, and an unfurnished building which was meant for the barracks. Lady Paget came here first, with 4 people from her unit, and the 5 did Herculean work until 4 of them contracted typhus.
And what's also interesting is the sense of community that you get from these women. So we have Buckley Turkington, we've got DL, and we've got Hamilton Browns. When you read the letters of Buckley Turkington, Hamilton Brown and DL, is that they know each other. They've all came through medical school at the university at different times. Well, 2 have come together, but they've been residents at the Women's College, so they've known each other. In 1914, there's just over 3,000 students, 273 of them are women. So I would imagine that any of the women who are here, they know each other.
There seems to be a more hopeful outlook now, but the end of 1917 was very gloomy. Now we are going to give Fritz a bit of his own in the spring. I like this hospital very well. Some of the best known men are on the staff here, and I am the only woman. There are over 2,000 beds, and the work in the lab is mostly of the usual type, with the addition of more unusual cases, such as Malta fever, trench fever, and trench nephritis.
What we're hoping to do is to get a bigger picture. John Wilverton Brennan is an absolutely extraordinary figure, and the information we have, it's just not complete on him. We have his biographical sheet and a letter that he sends to the Union, and he just gives the information quite briefly, but you just want this information expanded on, and we would just love to know the full story.